Good evening all. On this slide, we're going to talk about the how to set up basic networking. So I'll start up by calling up my Cisco Packet Tracer. So Cisco Packet Tracer. So on this setup, we're going to learn basic Cisco networking, basically basics of networking using Cisco devices. So from this setup, so let me fit it in the screen. So this is how the Cisco Packet Tracer window, that's how it looks. So here I'm going to set up a basic Cisco network. So first I would first create a start topology. So these are end devices, and end devices will have PCs, laptops, servers, and other Cisco devices like tablets and all that. But we're focused on the end devices, PC and laptop. So you just click on PC. So I will set five PCs. So one, and then you add up a switch. So you click on. So down here you have network devices, and if you look down here, you have different network devices. You have routers, switches, hubs, and wireless routers and other devices, other network devices. Now, from our knowledge of networking, routers are layer 3 devices, switches are layer 2 devices, and hubs are layer 1 devices. But we're not using hub because hubs are obsolete. So I'll select. I'll use a 2960 catalyst switch for this. Setup. So okay, let me use a simple switch. Let me use a 2950 switch. So the next I'll do is to I have 5 systems here, and let me add a server. Making it so four pieces and a server. So let me connect them physically to the switch. So I'll be using a straight through cable for this setup. So click on PC1, fast Ethernet ports, switch. You could select this switch has 24 ports and 1 console port for configuration. So I'll just select port 1, and I'll just replicate same for system 2. So system 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now connect this server. So 5. So I have 5 systems for this server. So you could fast forward this, so it turns from amber to green. That's indicating ready. So the next I'll do is to assign IP address to these systems. So you could actually label these systems for basically if you want your network organized. So I'll label this system So I go to config, say this is ng001. So I'll do same thing for PC2. So config, I'll use ng002. For system, the next I'll use, so config is ng003. This laptop config is ng004. And for this config, I'll do ng server 01. Then the next I'll do is, so I have 5 systems, system 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Then I would be adding a system to configure the switch. So we're going to log into this switch, assign an IP address to this switch. This is just basic networking. So we're going to log into the switch via the local console port, and then we'll assign an IP address to the switch, change the name of the switch, and then do little other configurations. So I would be assigning an IP address to all these systems. So I'll assign an IP address to system 1, so IP config 192.168. I'll be using the 20.1. I'll be configuring this server to act as my DNS. So I'll be assigning 25 to my server. So I've not configured the server yet. So okay, let me just assign the IP address just for IP 192.168.20. So 168.20.25. We don't have a default gateway at the moment, so 168.20.25. So on this setup, since there's no, we don't have a router here, we just have this is just a small LAN, a local area network. So on this LAN, there's no router here, so there is no layer 3 device. So no layer 3 device. Take note, a layer 3 device. Example means your router. So I've not added any router here, so I'll just say this is a layer 1 and a layer 2 setup, because on this setup I have cables here which falls under layer 1, moving electric signals from PC to switch and then from switch to PC. So I've not added any layer 3 device here, so I'll say this is a layer 1, layer 2 setup, right? So that's for the devices added. That's physical components added. So let me just delete this, just for explanation purpose. So delete. So this system is going to act as our configuration system. So I'll link this console cable. So if you observe, if you want to configure a Cisco router or a Cisco switch, you would have to connect the console cable to the switch console port and then to the system's RS-23 to that serial port. So on my setup here, I have let me hope if you observe, if I hover my mouse pointer on this cable, you can see it's getting the console cable. So this is a console cable or a rollover cable. So it has two ends. One end is RJ45, which gets inserted in the console port of the switch, and then the RS-232 port of the system, which can also be referred to as can also call it a serial port or a DB9, yeah, DB9 port, or COM1 port, yeah, COM port, yeah. So select RS-232. So this system, I will label this system dedicated for configurations. So this is a config system. So I'll be using this to configure this switch. So I've assigned an IP address to system 1, 20. Okay, let me assign to my server has 20.25, system 3. Okay, system 3, 192.168.20.3. So my DNS server is static, so 192.168.20.25, that's my server. So and this system 4, I'm assigning 192.168.20.4. So my DNS 192.168.20.25. So if you observe, all systems have this. Why? Because it's our DNS server. So, but I haven't converted into a DNS server yet. So, and this system that I'll be using for configuration, you won't assign an IP address to the system because the system is just for configuration, right? Via a console cable. So I've assigned system 1, 2, 3. Now, if you want to verify if an IP address has been assigned to this system, and then you want to test connectivity in your network, basically to test if systems are seeing themselves in this simple network setup. So I'll log into system 1, get to command prompt, and then I'll first verify what system 1's IP address is. So type IP config /all. So system 1's IP address, if you observe here, is 192.168.20.1, and a system on my network have I assigned 20.234, and then the server 25. So ping 192.168.20.2, which happens to be system 2. So let me test if that's connectivity. So that's no connectivity. So let me check what the issue is. So system 1, check IP address 192.21. Okay, so let me just verify. System 2, desktop. Okay, so I haven't assigned 20.2 yet. So anyway, so 192.168.20.2. So the error, I didn't assign that IP address to any system. So take note that things imputed 192.168.20.25. That's the DNS server IP address. So let's return back to system 1. So this system 1. If you observe, I got the request timed out because there was no connectivity, right, on the system. So let me redo this. Let me redo this on these systems. So okay, let me log into 2 and then ping other systems. So 2, I'll first check what system 2 IP address is. So system 2 has 20.2. So from system 2, I'll ping other systems. So ping 192.168.20.1. So I got a reply on this. So I got a reply on 20.1. So I could also ping 20.3 because this system it's 20.2 is assigned to this system. So so let me ping my server from this laptop. So log in here. I'll first check what the laptop IP address is. So I'll say IP config, this laptop is having 20.4, so I'll say ping 192.168.20.25, which happens to be the server's IP address. So I'm getting an IP address on my server. So the next thing I'll do is to configure this server to act as my DNS. Now, what is DNS? What's DNS? DNS is domain name service running on ports 53. Port 53. That's DNS, and basically the DNS is used to map names, host names to IP addresses. So map names to IP address. So an example of mapping name to IP address is, for example, I'll use this through this app called Truecaller app. So you observe on Truecaller app you have phone numbers mapped to names. So meaning on your Truecaller app you could either call users via their names or via their phone numbers. So what Truecaller does is, I'll say Truecaller, it's mapping the phone numbers of your users and mapping their names to their IP addresses. So meaning, instead of me storing the phone numbers of all my contacts, with the help of Truecaller, I have all my contact phone numbers mapped to their names. So meaning I could search users through names, not phone numbers. So meaning I could just log into my Truecaller and then type Victor, Mr. Victor, and then I would the name pops out with the corresponding phone number mapped to it. So that same thing the DNS does. Now, for example, I have 5 systems here: NG001, NG002, NG003, and NG004. Now, if I want to access these systems via their name, because if you observe, NG003 has an IP address of 192.168.20.3, and you know, a situation whereby I have these systems, let's say about 1,000 of these systems in my network. Now, storing the IP addresses of all these systems will be a tedious task for network administrators. So what the DNS does is it helps to map these names to their corresponding IP addresses, because as humans we remember things easily via names. So how do I configure my DNS? First, I should have a database of all systems in my network. I should have their names mapped to their IP address. That's what the DNS does. So first thing, I'll log into my DNS server, and then this DNS on Packet Tracer. So I'll log into my DNS server. I'll click on services, and then you search for DNS. Yeah, by default the DNS service is turned off. So if you observe, I turned it on, and then you enter the names of all these systems. Now, before I do these configurations, I'll first try to ping system 2 from system 1 through name, and let's see if we'll get any results. So this is system 1. So before I ping system 1, I'll just type host name to this Packet Tracer, so it won't work, but on a regular system it works. So I'll run the ping command. So I'll say ping ng002. So if you observe, it's saying ping request could not find hosts ng002. Please check the name and try again. Now, why you're getting this is because the DNS server does not exist on the network. There's a DNS server actually, but the DNS service has not yet been activated. So with this, I'll just minimize this and then configure my DNS server. So I would impute this is a manual input on DNS service 2020 server or 2016 server and 2020 server. You don't need to do all of this. By default, when installing or configuring Active Directory works in collaboration with DNS. They learn systems by their names and corresponding IP addresses. So that means on a domain network or on a real life scenario where you install your server and then you activate the DNS service rule on the server, you don't need to manually impute clients' names and their corresponding IP addresses, because it's a tedious task, in the sense that imagine if you have up to 1,000 clients or more in your network. Imputing this manually, it's going to take quite some time. So, but for practice purpose, I'll be doing a manual impute. So let's say ng001 corresponding to ng001 IP address. So let me check what's assigned to ng001. So this ng001 and its IP address is 20.1. So I impute this in my server. So ng001 is mapped to 192.168.20.1, and we add this. We'll do the same thing for the next system, ng002. Take note, it's not case sensitive. So ng002 is mapped to 192.168.20.2. It's always advisable you verify so you don't make a wrong input. So you can see 20.2 ng002. So ng002 20.2. Then we have ng003 mapped to 192.168.20.3, and ng004 maps to 192.168.20.4. Let me verify that. So ng004 maps to 20.4. That's correct. So the next is the server. So I have to impute the server's name mapped to his IP address as well. So take note, my server is 25. So I'll impute the server name. So that's ng server 01. Take note, it's not case sensitive, but you impute the name the way it is, because when pinging or when running a ping command via name, you must impute the name the way it's mapped to the DNS server. So I'll impute the server 192.168.20.25. So I'll add this. If you observe, the service is on, it's turned on, it's not off, it's turned on. So with this, so this one, then this is criteria 2, it should be on. Then the first criteria is the systems must be mapped to an existing DNS server. So if you check my configuration on DNS server address, I assigned 20.5, which happens to be the DNS server IP address. And if you observe, all clients have this IP address. So if you run a, okay, let me run a ping command on this server. So on this server, so I'll go to desktop and then do command prompt. So say IP config space /all. So if you observe, this server has okay, it has okay, so the DNS server. So here's the DNS server. On network configurations, you could either impute it like this, but if this server happens to be the same machine you're doing this configuration, you could use the 127.0.0.1. This, it's an address for it's called a loopback address. So a loopback address is like it's like this is me. So it's basically used on ping. On ping, and we use this address to test our TCP/IP stack, basically to test if your TCP/IP stack is installed correctly. Yeah. So like ping yourself. Yeah. So could either do this or impute the address of the same system. So why I'm using 127.0.0.1 is because this address is still same person, still same server. So like this is a local host. So I could either do that or I'll leave it on default. So on this server now, I want to ping systems by their name. So I'll start with the first ping ng001. So if you observe, I got the reply. Now why I'm able to ping by name is because of a DNS server exists. So it's doing a mapping for us. Now let's go back to that system that the system I run a ping command on I think system, no, not system 3. Sorry. Okay, I think I actually minimize that, but okay, so yeah, so these are all the systems you could so these are the systems. So this is system 4. This system 4. So this system 4, that's 192.168.20.4. So if system 4 pings, system 4 could ping ng001, and so this is how you do DNS configuration. So take note, all systems are mapping just one single DNS address on this setup because I have one single DNS server. So, and the configuration has already been mapped. So if you observe on my IP config, I have this static address on all my clients. So meaning whenever system 1 or ng001 wants to resolve name to IP address, he contacts this address 20.25. So that's what this setup is all about. So let me log into my switch and do some configurations. So the first configuration I'll do is so log into the switch. So log on to my switch, and then so take note, this system it's set up for configuration. So you click this system, it's not for network setup, right? Just for configuring a Cisco router, Cisco devices. So I'll click on system, yeah, and desktop, and then terminal. And then you leave these settings by default. The bits per second 9600, these are default settings to launch my local terminal. So if you observe, there's a switch, and nothing has been assigned on this switch. So I'm on my enable mode, so I'll do enable. Sorry, I spelled enable wrong. So just wait a little bit. So I'm going to assign a name to the switch, then assign it an IP address that must be on the same range with the systems, and then probably ping the system. So sometimes when you make an error, it's trying to translate this command. It's a wrong command actually. So I'm on my switch. I'm logged into. So this system is logged into the switch via the console connection. So I'm supposed to use enable on privilege mode config T, and then I'll set the host name. So I'll change the name of this switch from host switch name. I want to assign a name to this switch, so ng, so I'll name it ng switch. If you observe, the name has changed. Then now I'll set the password for my switch. And before I set that, let me assign an IP address to this switch. So interface VLAN1 IP address 192.168.20. I'll assign 6 to him, and the subnet mask is 255.255.255.0. That's a class C. Then I'll activate the interface with the no shutdown command. So then I return back to my privilege mode and save this. Okay, before I save, and configure a password for this switch so unauthorized users don't gain access to my switch. So enable password, I'll use enable password Cisco, and then I will set a password for this line console connection. So why I want to set a password is so an unauthorized user don't log into my server room and connect his console cable to my switch and then alter my configuration. So I don't want that to happen. So what I'll do is I'll set a console password. So if that hacker logs in my server room, maybe unauthorized, and connects the system, try to launch my terminal, so he could alter my configuration or make changes to my switch, he will be requested to impute a password. So to set that, you would impute the line, or log into the line console, complete command line, console 0, then you assign a password, so enable password. So I'll use Cisco 1 just for practice. Then I'll type a login, so meaning if an unauthorized user tries to log into this switch, they will be requested to impute a password. So sorry, let me log into my line. The line console 0, so password, sorry, enable password. I use Cisco 1. Oh, it's logging me out. Why is that? Okay, let me see first. So copy, start. So line, password Cisco. Okay, sorry, it's not enable password Cisco. Then login. You could set an exec timeout. Exec timeout is if execution timeout. So meaning if the hacker it's logged into my or tries to log in and he stays idle without imputing a password, is going to automatically terminate him out. So I could set this on 1 minute. So set this on 1 minute, and then so exit, and then let me go to my privilege mode. Now the disadvantage of this setup is if you don't encrypt your password could be your password displays on plain text. So for example, if you type the show run command, if you observe all my passwords are, you see, this is my enable password is Cisco. If you see scroll down, you see my line console password. So you observe my line console password here is Cisco. So meaning if your password is not encrypted, an unauthorized user could actually gain access to your system. So meaning if I leave this system unattended, a user could actually log in, an unauthorized user could log in, and then he hits this command, show run on privilege mode, and voila, your password is displayed, and he uses this to gain access to your switch. So what you want to do is to encrypt your password so it won't be visible to unauthorized users. So you use the command service password encryption. Service. So okay. So service password encryption. So it's supposed to be a hyphen, not underscore. So this has been set. Now if you want to verify, if you exit to your privilege mode and then type show run, you observe my password is now encrypted, right? So if you also scroll down to the service password encryption, encrypts all passwords set. So if you scroll down to my line console 0, if you observe here too, is also encrypted. So I'll say I've encrypted all password set. So if you ping these systems here, I'll ping 192.168. That's 20.1. That's ng001. So you get an exclamation. So this exclamation indicates that there's a connection. So this is basic Cisco networking. If you observe, I did few things. We changed the name of the switch. We set an IP address for our switch. We set a line console password. Okay, let's try the line console password. So let me log out, and let me log out of this interface. So let's assume that this is the unauthorized user, and while I stepped out of my server room, he logged in, disconnects my console cable connected, and then connects his own machine to my Cisco terminal so as to hack my switch. So here, if you click on this, I'll click desktop terminal. Okay, so this is a hacker system. Yeah, the unauthorized user. So if you observe, because I've set a line console password, if you hit enter, you'll be requested to impute a line console password. Yeah, why this request is because it's logged into my switch via that is physically connected to my switch via a console cable. So, and I set a line console password, right? So that's what is going to impute here. So I set Cisco 1, right? Okay, I think I said Cisco. Okay, so you see I've logged into, remember, take note, I set two passwords. I set the enable password, and then I set the console password. So this password I imputed, the user access verification, is my line console password. Now I'll be requested to impute an enable mode password. So if you observe, there are two passwords to be imputed, right? So the first is my line console password because it's connected to my system via a line console, and then the second is my enable mode password. So I impute this password. Take note, when you're typing this password, it doesn't display, right? It doesn't display, so don't expect to see anything, just type, right? So do the config T, and then I will check So let's set a telnet password. Let's assume this user wants to gain access to this switch via the network setup. So I'm going to run a telnet. I'm going to run a remote access connection to this switch, a simple remote access connection. Let's assume this user is far off from where this switch is, but he's connected to the network, right? So this user could actually log into the switch and then gain access to the switch terminal. But right now, I want to configure this switch so that if this user tries to telnet the switch, you'll be requested for a password. So let's assume I've not set this yet. So take note, I set .6 for my switch. So let's say telnet 192.168.20.6. We're trying to open close by foreign host. Okay, so let's set a telnet configuration. So I could remotely access or remotely configure my switch, right? So I'll log into my switch terminal, and then so let me get my password. So I'll impute a line. VTY is virtual terminal, right? So I impute a line virtual terminal 0 to 4 sessions. So 0 to 4 means 5 connections will be accepted here. So VTY means virtual terminal, like remote connection. So my virtual terminal, I will also assign a password. So password and login, right? So I'll copy, so exit. So if this system tries to telnet this switch, you'll be requested to impute a password. So I say telnet the switch, which is 192.168.20.6. So you observe I've gained access to the switch, and now I'm requested to impute the VTY password, right? So this is how you gain access, not through console. This is a console connection, but this is a VTY connection because I tried to access this system via telnet on port 23, right? So access the system. So I imputed telnet, and then this is the IP address of the switch. So with this, I'll be asked to put in the password, my VTY password. So if you impute a wrong password, you'll be logged out of it. So let's say telnet. So I impute my password. So enable T. Oh, sorry, I'm being asked to impute my enable password. So I'm on the Cisco terminal, and then I could this system is connected to this. So this is just a basic setup of how to run a simple networking. Thank you. Yeah.